Hello, welcome to the 8th day of September 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, a daily live video exercise that I do to go over my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I also review the day to see how I did relative to these values, to see where I either did well or poorly, think about the coming day, and I just basically tune my life. But hey, my clock's working again. Yeah, I got it fixed yesterday. Turns out I was just winding it wrong all along. But before I do all of that, I want to say hello to new subscribers to the channel, and a big thank you to my Patreon supporters, my YouTube members, and those who watch my videos. And a brief disclaimer that this is a private, public journal, diary type of video. So I'm talking about my own life in a public forum. So you're welcome to leave comments and criticisms, but I won't read or respond until the end. But just be forewarned that this could go anywhere. Although typically I'm pretty constrained, but it sometimes could go anywhere. And I might even talk about things that might be uncomfortable to some people, like death. So heads up. All right, so to begin, let's take a look at my notes from yesterday. Since yesterday I have just one note, but several sub-bullets therein. Yesterday was Sunday, and my note simply says, a well-lived day of, and then here's the bullet list. A well-lived day of family, community, fun, and healthy living. And in parentheses there, food and exercise. So if it sounds like I'm just making a note to say that yesterday was an exceptional day, that's precisely what it is. But if you watch these videos, you'll know that I'm just as eager and apt to point out where I have an awful day. Yesterday happened to be a really good one. Now, it's interesting to note that I'm having more and more of those. In fact, I can't remember the last bad day I had, which is a startling thing to think about. I can't even remember the last, unpleasant day or just a mediocre day. They've all kind of become pretty good. In fact, I keep waking up every morning asking myself less about my mental state, because mental state can be, hang-ups and issues and challenges and immaturities that have yet to be tackled. But it can also be just the state of the weight of the day, right? How heavy is life, and how is my mind holding up to that weight? But life hasn't been heavy at all in the last couple of weeks. Remember, I can talk about anything I want here, so sometimes if it sounds like I'm talking about stuff that's insensitive to those who are still in the thick of it, it's not because I don't care about or am not aware of the thick of it. It's just because this is my own journal. One of the interesting things that and this is going to be just such a point, one of the things that's really interesting is these little tiny insects rising from the bamboo. That's not the point. But they're rising from the bamboo. It's my first season in this house that my wife and I bought here in Japan. And so I'm discovering wildlife in the wilderness here that I hadn't seen before. I wonder what these are. Little tiny little things. They're not mosquitoes. Anyway, in the course of life, almost my entire adult life, money was always a challenge. Making ends meet, especially while raising a child, especially while having challenging business fortunes. But that's no longer an issue anymore. My means are guaranteed for the rest of my life, unless the Armageddon or apocalypse comes. And this is the factor that I didn't see coming when I was planning for retirement. I didn't anticipate just how little money I actually need to enjoy my life, which is an amazing thing, because under the old way of thinking, the weekends were a very vulnerable period for me financially, because I would spend a lot of money on the weekends, filling the weekend with fun. You'd work, 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 Monday to Friday. The weekend would come, you'd go out to restaurants and go shopping and all this stuff. And I would sometimes go back to work on Monday, especially when the spending, bloodletting could come to an end. Being retired is not like that at all. In fact, the weekends are still a little bit like that because it's the time when I can engage with the larger extended family. Yoko, my sister-in-law, who's the main adult other than my father-in-law who we interact with here. She's free on the weekends. She still works, so she's free on the weekends, and we go off and do things. But during the week, Yumiko and I, and it's not because we don't want to, it's just because life has boiled into a state of such simplicity, such blessed simplicity. I go through the whole day and, I don't want to spend anything. It's like, it's like riding, it's like riding an amusement park on a day when you don't have to buy tickets for the rides, And then suddenly that's a bad way of thinking. I can't think of a good, I love analogies. I love examples of things, but it's just that life doesn't seem to require funding anymore. And yet the money comes in, but I don't have to spend anything to enjoy life really, or very little. So the point I was trying to make was that back to this thing of the well-lived day of family, community, fun, and healthy living, and then there's no thought or any longer the weight of the stress of money. And again, it's not because I'm making so much in retirement. It's probably mostly because retirement has yielded a lifestyle where money is hardly needed anymore. Well, especially by me, especially in my particular circumstance where all I need to do is facilitate the money to come to Japan, and my wife takes care of the rest. It all dumps into our Japanese bank account, and she handles paying the few bills that we have. The house is paid for, the car is paid for, etc. So I don't see it. So yeah. Told you this is my personal journal. I can talk about anything. So if it sounds like I'm being insensitive to those who are still under the full weight of living, it's not that I'm not thinking about you, but this is, this is my own journal. If I was writing my journal during those years of my life, I'd be writing a very different story, very different page today. But I'm not. I'm in a different place now. So it's reassuring that day after day, I have observations, atmospheric notes in my notebook that describe a well-lived life. Now, I know that at a moment that could all come to a sudden end with my health. The main threat to this well-being would be my own health, my own poor health, or the poor health of any of the immediate people in my orbit of life, my circumstance of life, my wife, my daughter, my brother, his family, my mother even. And I'm ready for that. And I think I am. I prepare for it every day with my objective number one, be always being ready for death. I like to think I'm as prepared as I think I could be. It was a good day. I guess that's all I need to say for yesterday. As for my creed, my 8 objectives are to be always ready to die, like I said before, having affairs, relationships, and life's work in good shape, to make good and effective use of my time, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to perform good actions relative to my values, to recognize my true limits and true opportunities, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, and to maintain my balance. I'm going to read now from the book. I'm going to read the principle titled The Feast of Offal, which is strategically placed after 3 principles prior to that. In the 35 principles of my creed, there are 4 or 5 principles that, well, there's a couple places, well, they're all of the principles are organized carefully. But these 3 or 4 go together. It begins with life will not go well, expect problems. The horror show, expect horror. That which must be borne, the suggestion of that we have to carry these things sometimes, even though they hurt. And then temperance, I think temperance after that? No. Life will not go well, the horror show, that which must be borne, followed by the Feast of Offal, 4. So now I'm going to read the Feast of Offal, which is on page 262 of the hardbound edition. The Feast of Offal begins with a quote from the Bible. A fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it till afterward. That's Proverbs 29:11. The Feast of Offal. This strange, and by the way, offal is the waste and byproduct of a butcher's art, right? So all the stuff that's left over after a butcher, takes care of a carcass, makes all the prime cuts of meat, and then they have all the waste stuff that they could either discard of, but most often they'll put to good use, making a stew or sausages or something like that. That's offal. Kind of gross stuff if you see it in its raw state, and can kind of almost have a sense of contamination if you're not careful. The Feast of Offal. This strange meal consists of the waste and byproduct of unreasoned and unprincipled living, which we sometimes discard like filth where we live, think, and act. Every time we become confused, frustrated, upset, or angry, and we take pains to let all the world know, we are then spilling out our personal offal onto the world, spreading the filth of our hot, raw emotions onto everyone within range of our upset. The curious thing is that so many then take up the filth we've flung at them to then consume it with seeming relish. It's because it's, what do the Germans call it? Schrodenfragen, what it is, relishing the pain of others, making themselves immediately sick in the process. It comes with a consequence, and causing them to begin their own reciprocal feast of offal, and thus it spreads from one to another throughout the waking day. I can see that insect. What is that? Like a little flying ant. Throughout the waking day, and even at night while we dream our emotions into life, an awful banquet of filth, soiling deeply our peace and better living, poisoning our lives and the lives of everyone we know. I wish to cover my mouth and nose instead, to filter out the foul excess of undisciplined thought and living, to temper my emotions with my careless consumption of the emotions of others. I will neither offer nor consume the feast. So the Feast of Offal is that waste and byproduct that we spew out when we fail to temper our emotions rising. They don't stop, and they come out when we rail at the world and our family and our loved ones and even our co-workers sometimes, and make a mess of our surroundings. That mess then soils and spoils and contaminates others, and contributes to their own weight of burden of life that then may cause them to have their emotions rise and spill out their own feast to their own community circle, and thus it spreads. I try to stop it by first recognizing the emotions rising. Hashtag life will not go well, hashtag the horror show, and then apply my own temperance, hashtag temperance, to control that, recognizing my hashtag limits where I can and cannot make control, using hashtag apathy to distance myself from that which is beyond my scope of reach. In this way, I keep the feast rising no matter what's going on inside. I am less likely to contaminate and hurt myself and others by engaging in the Feast of Offal. It really works. It works really well. With a lot of practice, it becomes part and parcel of how we live. And we see the emotions rising from a distance and can take action early and urgently to save ourselves and others. All right. As for today, Well, I'm going to be, it's a Monday, and I made a very curious note, maybe the most interesting note yet in a long time, under the category of the next 24 hours. Full-time YouTuber. That's what it says. Let me explain. Yesterday, or it was not yesterday, it was Saturday, we were in the mountains and at a very nice old Japanese Komika-style home turned into a restaurant, celebrating my sister-in-law's birthday, taking her out for lunch. Our waitress spoke English very fluently. Turns out she's a friend of a friend. She's married to an American. She's not a friend. She's not a friend, but her husband is a friend of a friend here in Shizuoka. We know each other amongst the rather, well, it used to be a small circle of foreigners here, particularly Americans. At one point, I said to her, I said, do you know Rob? She says, Rob, yeah, sure, Rob, over there, right? Yeah, Rob, same Rob. Turns out that they, not only do they know each other, they live on the same street, and they rent a garden plot, an old farm plot together to vegetable garden, so they know each other very well. She asked me, as we started to talk, got to know one another, and this comes up often. Almost with everybody I meet here, they ask me, what do you do, Kurt? And I'm left in a weird state. In America, if I get asked that question now at this age, 61 years old, I say with ease and pride even, and a little bit of good-natured spirit, well, sir, well, ma'am, I'm retired. That's all I need to say. My fellow Americans, whether they're retired or not, understand that there's kind of this like phase that we all strive towards it. Where, the lucky ones can enter this phase and enjoy some years or decades even of freedom at the end of their life. And we Americans kind of see this as the right and consequences, right? Oh, right? Is that too strong a word? The earned consequence of a lifetime of hard work, right? Some get a lucky break and win the lottery or become rock stars, and they get it early. And I'm not speaking for other countries. I'm just speaking for Americans. For the most part, Americans don't begrudge them. We don't. If we see somebody that wins, they're 30 years old and they won the lottery, or they became a rock star and they were the drummer in Blink 182 or something like that. We don't slight them, or we don't look at them and say, oh, we hate you because of that. We say, well, lucky you, right? Or we say, and we may think behind under our breath, we think, well, good luck with that, right? Because we all know the anecdotal evidence of that freedom at a young age can be a dangerous thing, right? And fortune and easy come, easy go, right? All that kind of stuff. But if you meet somebody my age who's done the whole 40-year stint at the coalface, and they're free, and we say, well, I'm retired. Well, I don't need to say anything on more than that. No one's going to ask. They're just going to be like, well, okay, you do what you want. You're golfing all day long, whatever the hell it is, right? Walking the dogs, hanging out at the country club. I don't know what it is, whatever it is people think retired people do. It's not like that here. In Japan, every time someone's asked me that, they kind of give me this look like, and first of all, you don't say it like that. You don't say I'm retired in Japanese. You say, there are some words that you can use, but what I kind of follow my wife's example, and my wife basically says, when I hear Japanese people asking her, because they'll meet us after we've been gone for a decade, and they see us, we're back, you're back, what do you do? And my wife always says, I do nothing. So that's what I tell people, I do nothing. I ask my wife, I'm going to tell people I do nothing. Seems to be the thing. And I can understand, because in the Japanese sense, it's kind of this middle ground. Japanese never want to congratulate themselves like an American would say, I'm retired. Pat myself on my back, right? I made it. You don't do that here, right? Japanese people are loath to even have the slightest appearance of self-congratulations or even of good fortune. They'll couch things in language that makes it sound like it's less than what it is. I mean, you meet somebody who's a concert pianist, right? I mean, and oh, you spot a piano in their home. Oh, you play the piano. Oh, no, I don't play the piano. And then they sit down, and it's happened so many times. So I try this out. I say, I'm retired, and I always get these look, like they cock their head, they look at me, and half the time they'll say, like, but you're so young. I'm not young. I'm 61. I guess they think I look young. And then I've been observing others, and I've gained the impression that here in Japan, um, it's like it's like telling it's like telling people, you know, I've given up taking care of my family, or I've given up, you know, caring for my children, or something like that. It's like what? What? You can't. What? That's kind of a weak example. I'm sure if I give it a little more thought, I can come up with a better example. But in Japan, if you say you do nothing, and you're I guess you're my age, I guess you want to say you're doing nothing if you're kind of old and you're broken and it's like clearly you've gone 9 rounds with life, and you've had enough. I mean, but if you're still kind of somewhat vital and young, I mean, it's like, why? Why do nothing? Anyway, I've seen that face, and I've gotten that response so many times, including Saturday, and it's unsettling to me to get that. Sure, I'm impacted by what other people think about me. I mean, temper and moderate my outward response to that, but I mean, I'm just human, just like anybody else. Um, I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe I ought to change my tune a little bit. So back to the point of the next 24 hours, I have this note here. This is full-time YouTuber, and I was telling myself, maybe the next time someone asks me what I do, I'm going to say, oh, and then the other thing was, I need a visual aid. Hold on. Let me come in here and get my wallet. Oh, there it is. She had asked me what I did, and then she wanted to remember my name to talk to our mutual friend, to say, hey, I met a guy we both know, my friend Rob, right? But she couldn't remember my name. I mean, she couldn't say it. She was like, what's your name, Kurt? What? And then I thought, oh, I have my wallet in my back pocket. I whipped it out. I said, I have a business card, and I had this business card specifically made because my last time I lived in Japan, I would meet Japanese people who we'd have a little bit of talk, and they would like wonder who I was. And Japanese people give out business cards, and I mean, they don't give them out like on the street, but you know what I mean. They have them, and there would be people sometimes who would, by course of conversation, they would discover, or I would reveal that I'm maybe they see me making a video, right? And I'm a YouTuber, and they would want to see my channel, and I would have to like get out their phone and like have them search for stuff, and softypapa. It's S-O, no, what? That's, how do you spell that, right? I don't know. So I had my daughter make these business cards for me that I could carry around with me in my wallet in my softypapa 2.0 years. So when people say, well, how can I find you on YouTube? We go, Softy what? Like, here, this card. And you can see it says Kurt Bell at softypapa. And if they're looking for the details, like website and stuff like that, all it says on the back is, I know it's reversed. It's you can't do anything about it when you're doing the YouTube live. It doesn't matter that my phone settings say that I've got the mirror thing set properly. I've done the testing. When you're doing a YouTube live, it doesn't know any better, so it's backwards. That says at softypapa. And so if you go into any search engine and just type at softypapa, it's going to yield me, because I'm softypapa everywhere. So all the platforms. So that's all anybody needs to know. They can find my Instagram, my Facebook, my YouTube, of course, all of that right there. So she asked me, what do you do, that woman? And I said, well, I do nothing, following my wife's lead. I do nothing. Okay. But you're so young. Yeah, it's this. I've seen it so many times, well, 4 or 5 times now. And then she's like, well, okay, I'm going to tell Rob I saw you. What was your name again? It's Kurt. I was like, Kurt, K-U-R-T. Kato Chanpei. And that's not going to help. That's an inside joke in Japan. And she's like, what? And oh wait, I got my card. So I whipped it out. I gave this to her. And she's like, oh, you've got a business card. And I know in her mind she's thinking, but you're retired. Why do you have a card? What's this? There's nothing on it, right? There's just, what? She had this look on her face. Like, what the hell is this? Suddenly, all at once, in the midst of all of that, I had this realization. Maybe from now on, what I should do is introduce myself. When people ask me, what do you do? Stop saying I do nothing and simply say, I'm a YouTuber. Oh, really? Where can I find you? Oh, you want to find me? Oh, yeah, no problem at all. I'm easy to find. Just at softypapa. It works, right? It makes sense, right? This makes sense. What I do makes sense. I'm no longer a guy who doesn't do anything. I'm a guy who's a YouTuber. Now, of course, in their mind, they're going to be thinking, my wow, you know, what a loser, right? Full time, because full time YouTuber. That that has a that's like trying to be like that's like trying to be. I mean, people do it, right? But I mean, it's like saying being a waitress in Hollywood, saying I'm really an actress, right? Or not really, I'm really an actor, right? Yeah, sure you are. Sure you're a YouTuber, right? But what do you really do? How do you pay the bills, right? So I mean, I don't mind that baggage, so that's fine. So anyway, I think today, beginning today, Monday, the eighth day of September. It's really the eighth day, right? Yeah. I am now a full-time YouTuber. I'm still gonna do the Retiring in Japan series, but in terms of my public-facing self to the world at large that doesn't know me on social media or YouTube, I'm a full-time YouTuber and all that that entails. Which is interesting because I came up with that idea yesterday. We were walking the dogs in the evening. Typically when we walk the dogs, my dog Rudy, he's kind of a pain in the butt. He loves me and he doesn't love anybody else. So so when I walk with my wife and my sister-in-law, they walk with Ollie, typically about 10 or 15 feet ahead with Ollie, and Rudy and I hang back a bit because Rudy's a pain in the butt. So I kind of just follow them along, right? We come together sometimes and I'll follow along. So I'm sitting back there, which is all good with me because I love being alone with my thoughts. And I was back there thinking, and I was thinking, okay, if I'm a full-time YouTuber, then I need to start operating my YouTube channel like one, right? And I started thinking, how can I do that? How can I change what I'm doing, my activities, the videos, the social media? It's kind of fun, kind of a nice way to fill the time. Again, without all the burden of all that aforementioned stress, which is now gone. Quick check of the weather before we dive into any comments, questions, criticisms, observations. It's now probably just about 6 a.m. I think it's closing in on 6 a.m. It's 23 degrees and 85% humidity. So it's about 2 degrees cooler than it was last week at this time, and about the same humidity level. I think today is going to be the last kind of, it's not unbearable today, but today's going to be the last, woo, it's hot day. And it's going to really start getting cool in earnest. Of course, there'll be Indian summer coming back once in a while, but we'll see. Good morning, Tim. Hello. Weather check in the UK at 9:35 p.m. is 14.8 C and 86% humidity. I'm going to put this right here. I can look at it. 14.8. And I always like to refer to it because I can look at the color zone here. It gives me see the colors here. So if I look at that, I read your various temperatures, it gives me a feeling for it. In Fahrenheit, it's automatic. In Fahrenheit, I can feel it just by the number, but I have to look it up here. 14.8 is a little on the cool side, and 86% humidity high. So that might be kind of pleasant in an interesting way, in a cool yet humid way. And good morning to you, Tim. Showery day again. No running for you, yet the plants will be happy. Speaking of which, we had that huge storm come through. I haven't gone back in the backyard to assess the damage of our garden. I think all the plants got knocked over. I better take care of that today. Hello, Erica. Good morning to you. Erica says hi to myself and Tim. Tim says hi to Erica. Tim says, hello, Kurt, Tim, Erica, and Tim. This is actually Robert saying the weather in Napanee, Ontario is 19 C and 39% humidity, air quality of 23, which I think is better than it was the day before. Right? 19.C. It's pretty nice. That's pretty nice, Robert. Nice. Erica says hi to Robert. Tim says hi to Robert. Erica is growing, says, you are looking extra chill today, Kurt, already in the PEF zone. Absolutely. I haven't left it. So I had a funny incident happen yesterday. I took the dog Yoko and Yoko and my clock's working again. You can hear it chiming. Yoko and Yumiko went to the mall in the afternoon, and so I took Rudy and I went down to the shoreline. I was going to go for a swim, and it was just so full of people, and there were boys on bicycles, fishermen, families out. A teenage girl was arguing with her boyfriend on the phone. I just looked at it all and like a curmudgeon. I kind of just went, I'll come back tomorrow. And so yeah, I was definitely in the PEF zone then. I was like, I don't want to. I'd rather have the world to myself, which was the theme of today's blog post which I've already posted, was all about the old people having the weekdays to themselves. Thank you for your well wishes, Erica. Tim says, I've certainly found since retiring I've become more appreciative of life, perhaps, because you have that stress-free time to enjoy it more, whereas during the working life it seemed harder to find. Ain't that the truth? And I don't know about you, Tim, and I don't want to pry on sensitive subjects, but for me, I have lost almost all interest in alcohol. I was never a big drinker, but I would often, during my working days, enjoy a beer after work, either a small can or very often one of the taller cans that we can get here in Japan back in my working days. I don't want that at all anymore because it, like, as much as I enjoy the little buzz that comes with that, I don't like the general lack of good feeling, the lack of PEF that entails the following day. And I would much rather feel good the following day than enjoy a bit of escape, fleeing, distracting buzz from dinner time until sleep. And I know that's not related at all to what you're saying there at all, but I guess it is related to the extent of appreciation of freedom, and appreciation of the days, and not wanting to soil it in any way. I have the same feeling now with taking a big slice of cheesecake, for example. Anything that might, fatten me up or reduce my well-being in any way. Hello, Julie BBB. It's good to see you. Glad you're better late than never, right? Tim says, since you accepted the close of your store, so to speak, a few weeks back, I can observe you have definitely slipped into that laid-back retirement feeling, take things as they come, spur of the moment. Absolutely. It was a moment. I know I chronicled it when it was happening. I'm struggling to remember exactly what it was. Tim, there was a specific moment. I think it was the moment, it was an event. I think it was the day that the Japan Post suspended shipments of all parcels to the United States, which is how I shipped 8 out of 10 of my packages went by Japan Post to the United States. And I realized it was over. And it was like a door slammed behind me. The door of the workaday world. It was over. I knew that was done. And also it was good that I had sent out like 3 or 4 resumes that never got answered except for that AI interview. And they did follow up with me. They said, yeah, we kind of might have use for you, but maybe not. So all that was cumulative effect of being no one wanting me to work, and my opportunity for work coming to a slamming shut. I said, well, I guess there's no path forward, but no path left for me but forward. And you're right, Tim. That had a big impact on me. Tim adds, you definitely have slipped into a more relaxed era over the past few weeks. I feel it too, and I'm really enjoying it. Thank you. I'm glad, and thank you for sharing that you've observed it. Julie says, this is why I told people I am an artist. It seemed to make them feel better. Thank you, Julie. I'm glad that you added that. Yeah, because people give you that look, right? And artists can kind of feel like, and I don't know what kind of artist you are necessarily, Julie. I don't know. You could be a very successful or famous artist, right? Or maybe you're a hobbyist as an artist. I don't know. Just like me for a YouTuber, I'm not people don't know if I'm a famous YouTuber or if I'm a hobbyist YouTuber. It's something to wrap your mind around. And if they find out that you're a hobbyist artist or you're a hobbyist YouTuber and that you're retired, well then it all makes more sense, right? At least in their minds you're doing something, right? It's not like you're not doing nothing. I'm really glad that you shared that, Julie. That helps to, because consensus helps. I mean, it helps to be reassured that others are finding some of the solutions that I'm finding have been found before me, so to speak. Julie says, they seemed unhappy to be in a state of confusion about my status in life. I want to screenshot that, take a photo of that, snap. Exactly. That's exactly what was happening. You can read in their face a state of unhappy. You're right. It's almost like an unhappy confusion about just who or what the hell it is that they're talking to, right? Well, just what are you? It's like it's almost like if you told them like, oh, I'm a super secret something. What the fuck? What the hell is that? It's super secret artist, right? And it doesn't mean we're any less of a YouTuber or an artist. It's just that's what we do. And if anything, we're more so of that than ever because we can do it as we see fit, right, Julie? Robert says hi to Julie. Julie says hi to Robert. Tim says, strange kind of day. My neighbor crashed her car, a Mazda MX-5, into the house. Your house? Her house? Forgot to turn the engine off, and the car shot forward into the house. Lots of damage to the front of the car. Oops. Tim, oh my gosh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm glad nobody was hurt. I hope it wasn't your house, Tim. At least she is okay and unharmed. Yeah. Julie says, wow, Tim, so that happened. Haha, not, not, no, not famous, just my activity. Just like me, right? Yeah, I mean, that's in some ways, right, Julie? That's the most earnest type of activity to have, the one that we do for just for the sake of the fact that we love it so much. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, as always, everybody, for sharing all the stuff that you share and for coming and keeping me company for a little bit and for reflecting a little bit on life. I really do appreciate it. I'm sorry we didn't see Evelyn this morning. I guess this bodes well. I think she's in Turkey still. Um, and I guess this bodes well for her having fun activities. Although she might watch this in the after, so let's all wave hello to Evelyn in hindsight. Tim says, sorry, she hit her own house. She pulled up and the car just ran away with her. Wow. Wow. I'm glad everybody is okay. Wow. All right, well, I guess I'll sign off for now. It's a Radio Taiso Radio Exercise Day. I've got my Akiyamart shirt on, ready for the day. I rarely wear this shirt because it was given to me by Take and Joey over the founders of Akiyamart. Akiyamart's the website that I used to find in our house search here. I don't wear it much because I don't want to wear it out. I like to save it for the days that I go out and actually look at Akiya. Have a great day, your Monday. Thank you, Tim. And thanks, everybody. All of you. Thanks for joining me today. I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. Bye-bye.